Mark here from Mark's Reviews and Tutorials, and today we're going to give you the diagnosis of what to look for, and also show you how to change a front brake pad wear sensor on a BMW. I've got a situation here where when we go to start the car, we turn the key on, start the car, she's all good, she starts up, but we get over here, particularly on the iDrive, warning lights. We can accept that. See the brake pads replaced, and here, brake pads. Brake pads worn, have them replaced by the nearest BMW service centre. Now my brake pads are not worn, they're fine. What we can do is get rid of that, which gets rid of the little up on the jack symbol here in the dash, but it comes up every time, every single time. And I've gone through the procedure to reset the brakes, but they won't reset. So when that happens, what you need to do is replace the brake wear sensor. Now I've got one here. This is one out of Germany. I'll let you pause that video if you want to have a read through that. This is actually the part. This is the bit that attaches to the brakes. So if you see the little rhino horn bar up on the top there, the little black lump, that's the bit that actually rubs, and eventually there's a wire inside that, inside the black moulding. The metal clip is just a clip to hold it in place. It's not the bit that breaks. If you've been looking for that to see if it's broken or not, it's actually in the little rhino hump, the little blank hump on the top. That's the bit that presses in against the rotor and gets worn through, indicating that you need new pads because it's low. But these can break for other reasons. I've already had to replace the rear brake sensor on this car. I'll put a link up here to the video to replace the rear brake sensor, and now I'm having to replace the front brake sensor. Now there's only one, there's not two, there's only one on the front and one on the back, not one on each front brake and one on each rear brake. So you need to find out, I'll tell you which one it is on my Australian E60. But that's the procedure. This end here is just the clip. They've got a good weatherproof, because it's in there near the tyre, so a good weatherproof clip where that plugs into place. But these are not interchangeable. They've got different bends in them, they've got different lengths, and you do have to get the specific one for your car. Okay, so the business end of this starts outside. Now, this for me, this is an E61, which is the same as an E60, but this is in Australia, so the steering wheel is on that side of the car. America and Europe are going to have the steering wheel on this side of the car. Now I don't believe that's something where the brake sensor is something that they're going to change, so it's going to be on this side of the car. Now here is the brake caliper in here. You can see it, and right in the middle of the back of the brake caliper there's something there just glowing. That is the top of the brake sensor, the bit that had the metal on it that I showed you that wears. That's there, so you can have a look through the wheel. To say pulling the wrong wheel off, you can have a look through the wheel, see that, because on the other side there's nothing in that half moon. So we're going to take this wheel off. Now BMW mags do have lock nuts on them, as you can see there. I have a video, have a look here, for where to find your lock nut, how to get lock nuts off. And I also have a video, have a look at the iCard just here, for how to remove a front wheel. So I'm not going to show you that in this. A lot of people will know how to do it. Those that don't, have a look at that second iCard, which will show you how to get a front wheel off. It is just slightly different. So I'll get this wheel off and I'll show you the brake caliper and where to change it out. So I've just started out by cracking all the nuts, just loosening them that tiny little bit, and I explain why in the how to get the front wheel off video. Now, a couple of service items. You're going to be doing a lot of work on your BMW. If you've got an older BMW, this sort of ended at 07, if you've got a BMW with a spare, you'll have a jack, and you'll have you know, a wheel spanner. But if you don't, then you won't. You've got a newer BMW with run flat tyres and no spare, then they don't give you a wheel spanner, they don't give you a jack. So you're going to need to get some service items if you're going to work on your car. BMWs, 90% of them have a 17mm, just using a cross brace because that's a lot easier. A 17mm, but there are some BMWs that run a 19mm wheel nut, but as I said, 90% of them are 17mm. On a BMW, also the when you're changing the oil, the nut to pull out off the bottom, the sump, that's also 17mm. It's a very common bolt throughout your car. Now, BMWs are low. I was driving my 1 Series on a dirt road yesterday, and like there's the wheel ruts were worn in it with a bit of a raised stone bit in the middle, and it started to scrape on the motor guard because it was just too low. They are a lower car, that's why they handle well, part of the look and all the rest of it. But what it means is you're going to need to get, also when you buy your jack, you're going to need to buy one which is a bit lower as well. You see the front of that, see where it's scalloped off here? That is, well, there you go, it's written on it, low profile service jack. So that you can get under the car, particularly under the front. Otherwise, you know, I've found that I've had to drive the car up onto boards and sticks so that my jack could then work to jack the car up. I'll do another video, have a look for it in my BMW specialty playlist, and that will show you how to jack up a BMW, because they're not easy. Lots of plastic underneath there and not a lot of jack points. As I'm sure you all know, there are 4 jack points. There's one right there, and they have a square meeting face in them, and this one's been butchered in the past, not by me, I can honestly say, by just putting a metal jack fitting like that onto the plastic that will deform it. You can get, I got these off eBay. These are shaped to the size of the little plastic BMW thing. They're special BMW Jack Pads, cheap as, you can get them posted in. This is the first time I'm going to use this. I'm going to get the round is going to imprint into the bottom of this once it gets going, but it's a hard plastic cum rubber type thing, which is going to allow me, see that'll sit on there, and that's going to allow the jack to jack up into the right position. So there's a couple of bits to consider buying. If you do get a jack, if you've got a newer than say 2007 BMW, you're not going to get a jack with the car. So you can get yourself a low profile one, don't just buy a normal one, it'll be hopeless. And then also consider getting yourself some of these BMW Jack Pads, and then you'll be able to jack it up a whole lot easier. When I was trying to talk about the little half moon shape, you see it there, and there now you can see the wire with the little clip that's sitting in place. Now let's pull that out and just see if it is broken on the end. But anyway, we're going to replace this because I can't reset it. And you can see it comes up here. There's a little rubber cap on the back. I can show you that. It just pops off. That's actually over a grease nipple. Might need a screwdriver to get it off, but there's just a little rubber cap there. It's going to come. There we go. And then that can come off. See, that's part of the system. And then it comes up here, and that clips out of there. When you're doing yours, you can have a look at this little bit here, so you'll see exactly where everything is supposed to go and be clipped. Again, they're a bit tight because, you know, they need to stay in there for 100,000 kilometers and not fall out. And then now, the box on the back that was in behind the guard, but here, this is the box that we need to get into. So it's a matter of opening up these clips on the back like that, opening that up, and inside the 2 joiners. Now down here is where they run into the car. We really hope the brake's not there. The brake and the wire is not there. That's very rare that that is the case. So we just unplug this. This all just pulls forward. It's got a bit of dirt and muck and so forth, and it pulls forward like that. And we simply unplug that, plug in the new lead, which is fully out now, then put it all back together, and then hopefully it will reset. This is definitely one that a beginner can do, not a problem at all. So we'll get the new cord and switch it over. Okay, so let's get this done. I've got my new one out of the packet, and the first thing we want to do is size it up and just see how it compares. And got a plug in there with the part to go into the cabinet. We've got the connector here. The distances are definitely just different. That's where it goes around the brake thing and then through to the brake. So there are some little differences. I hope that won't cause too much of a problem. When you turn this around, you'll see the little clip in the top of the pin there. So we press that clip in and then pull that out like that. It has a little seal, and there's the plug. You want to make sure that's all clean. And again, check here to make sure that they are the same. I'm going to give it a spray with WD-40 just to clean the contacts up. And then I'm going to install it and put it all back in. Now, what's left, we plug this back in, getting the pins and locks all in the right direction, which is that way. Plug it back in until it clicks, and then this goes back into this little weatherproof container. You definitely want to make sure that that closes properly. You don't want it popping open and getting dirt and water and so forth flowing into there. Now this comes down and clips onto there. Like that. Now remember that the wheel is dropped right down because it's off. And then this part here is the bit that went over the little grease nipple here. And I might just put this in place first. So you see here the little slot, and this is actually the rotor and this is the brake pedal, so you can see why this touches. This is the piston here which pushes the brake pad across onto the rotor. These two big bits of metal are the metal rotor. That's this bit here. So that slips into place like that. You'll just, like that did just there, you just get a click and then it's in place. And that's what we were looking at when we were looking through the mag wheel to see that sensor sitting there, and that's lining up beautifully back here where it needs to clip on. It needs to spin around. That clips on over the top of that grease nipple. That just needed two hands rather than one hand holding the camera. So that just pressed down with two hands. The little grease nipple cover comes over the top, which locks in place to hold everything in place. And you know what? We are done. That new one is in place. That cover's closed. And the brake sensor change is done. All that's remaining now is to put the wheel back on, and then we'll pop inside and give it a test. As a matter of fact, we can pop inside now and give it a test before we put the wheel back on. Alright, so back where we started, inside, ignition on, foot on the brake, start the car, and this warning will still come up because it needs to be reset. So we'll accept that. Brake pads up, reset. Now, the reset procedure is down here. Now, I'm going to have to leave one last link here for an iCard right there. Have a look at how to reset this so that brake pads replace thing goes away, and then you'll be set. So there's a reset procedure that needs to happen in order to make it go away.